Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Todd Leitz, the Los Angeles Dodgers public address announcer since 2015, whose thunderous, buttery voice, dubbed the voice of God in Blue Heaven on Earth, which captivates 50,000 fans per game with authority, humor, and empathy, from calling two World Series and singing the national anthem to leading the rock band Core. Todd's journey as former KNX 1070 broadcaster, Golden Mike winner, and devoted husband to Tina reflects his passion for community and faith. Today is Todd's story of dedication, talent, and uniting Dodger fans one iconic call at a time. So, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure the more you speak, the fans are just going to love every moment of hearing your voice today. So, walk us through your journey. How did a South Shore, Massachusetts kid passionate about the Dodgers find his way to announcing and becoming the iconic voice of Dodger Stadium? And I want to know, like, were you just the kid at home, just announcing games for fun? Like, what is the root of all of this?
Well, the root is definitely in my love for baseball, the game itself. I played baseball from the time I was 8 years old until now. Um, and I just love baseball. But I never thought of being a public address announcer. I did enjoy doing what I thought was play by play as my brothers and I played wiffle ball and things like that. And so, there was always that a bit of broadcasting involved, but I was thought I was more of a player. And so my journey really started on the ball field itself, playing the game. And it was a circuitous route for me to get to the PA booth. But eventually, by the time I was 50, 51 years old, that's, that's when it kind of happened for me. So yeah, I mean, it's a long story. How much time do you have, Priscilla?
I have the time.
Yeah, so I never thought that this would be a job that I would do. I think when I first thought about it, I was at Dodger Stadium, and I think it was Father's Day or Mother's Day. I was singing the national anthem, and I'm standing down on the field, and I'm looking up into the press box, and I can see where I had just been rehearsing the anthem with Nancy B., who was the late great organ player at Dodger Stadium. And I looked up and I could see the top of the head of the PA announcer. And I said, well, that'd be a fun job to have. It just kind of it occurred to me. It's like weird what you think of when you're about to open your mouth and sing the national anthem for 50,000 fans. But I thought, oh, that'd be a cool job to have. But that guy looks kind of young, man. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So I kind of put it out of my mind. And then a couple years later, I heard that San Diego, the Padres, might be looking for a PA announcer because they were celebrating the 10th year of Petco Park, and they wanted to make a change, and they wanted to kind of get some social media heat around what they were doing. So they said, we're going to have an open call for a new PA announcer for the San Diego Padres. And on a lark, I said to my wife, I'm going to go down there and try out. And this was 2014, early in the year, like February. And I went down there and I got in line with all the rest of the thousands of people who auditioned. And then it was like a social media thing where, you let people know, and then they voted, and the fans voted on who they liked and so forth. And that kept going and going. And they would whittle it down from the top, I don't know, thousands to the top 100, to the top 50, to the top
Wow.
25, to the
They had a
top
big turnout.
10. Yeah. And then I made it to the top two. And then didn't get the job. And and I really thought I had it. I'm like, this job's mine, man. I got this. But I didn't. And over the process of trying out, I called several games, and portions of games, including opening day against the Dodgers, coincidentally. And then, so I didn't get the job, but I was like, okay, well, that's something I could definitely do. And the next season, a friend of mine on Facebook said, "Hey, I hear the Dodgers might be looking for a fill-in, and so why don't you call this guy?" So I did, and they had me come down for a tryout for the college baseball classic that they do every year at Dodger Stadium, where USC and UCLA play, and then the top two teams from the College World Series play. Like I think it was TCU and it might have been Vanderbilt at the time. So I called a few innings of that. And, I'd just been through this, 4-month process with the Padres and had gone through what I considered to be crushing disappointment, even though it was a fun process. And then Lon Rosen, who's one of the bosses at the Dodgers, came up and put his hand out and said, "Son, we're going to need you for the Angel series." And I'm like, okay. So I plan on doing that. And we went back and forth for a couple of weeks where they were like, "If you could do some of the games for the year, would you be available for that?" Yeah, I would. "If you could do a significant number of games, yes, I will. Yes. If you could do a majority of the games, would you? Yes. Are you guys offering me the job?" And finally, they did offer me the job. And it's just funny how life works. You struggle and you fight and you make a great effort and it doesn't work out. And then maybe when something's meant to be, it just falls in your lap and it's almost easy. And the path just opens up clearly for you. So I wasn't meant to be the Padres PA announcer, and I thank them for the opportunity and I thank them for all the training. But I'm so happy that I did not get that job and that I was ready and available for my opportunity when the Dodgers came calling, so to speak. And here we are, 11 seasons later. So I really feel very fortunate, and I feel blessed to be able to do what I love to do and do it for the Dodgers. And it's been quite an amazing 11 seasons. From my perspective and from the Dodger perspective and the Dodger fans. Talk about successful. The Dodgers are there every year. Now we've won 2 World Series, and I like to think that I had a little something to do with that.
A little. And what was your first day? Like your official, this is yours, this is your job. How did you feel walking away from the stadium? There must have been like a ton of emotions going through you.
I remember when I first went there and I realized that I did get the job. I remember taking a selfie out in front of Dodger Stadium's iconic facade, and I just felt so great about it because I'd been a broadcaster for 20 years. I was on the radio here in Los Angeles for a long time, and then I got laid off and I couldn't find a job, and so I said, well, okay, well, what else could I do? And so I became an EMT, and I studied to be an emergency medical technician with an eye on maybe joining the fire department until I realized you're kind of old for that. Although there's no time limit, there's no age. If you can do the job, you can do it, but you just may not qualify for a pension and all that stuff. And I had kids, and I had kids in college, and and all that stuff. So I realized maybe that wouldn't be the best choice for me. But I had been, so I was doing that, and then I started working for the city of Los Angeles, working for a city councilman, and I worked very closely with the fire department. So that kind of journey was, it happened in a very cool way. But when I got the job with the Dodgers, I felt like, oh, I'm finally home again, doing what I need to do, doing what I'm meant to do, I guess. And it was just this wonderful feeling of, if nothing else ever happens in my life, I've got this, I've got this one victory, and in a sea of a lot of challenges and obstacles and things that I had to try to figure out. Getting laid off from a career that you spent a lot of time building and made a lot of sacrifices for is really painful, and it happens to so many of us. And it's how you get up off the mat and fight back that really determines who you are. So I kind of felt so vindicated that day, and that was a very emotional moment for me to walk away from there saying, yes, I got it. I won this time. But then of course you got to do the job and make sure that the fans don't hate you and that you don't get fired or something for saying something stupid or off color or something like that on the mic. Luckily, I've been able to avoid that, even though I do get passionate during the games because I am a big baseball fan and I know the way the game should be played. And when it's not being played that way, I tend to get a little colorful in my remarks to my colleagues and stuff. So I have to be careful about that. But yeah, that was a really wonderful moment. And I have that picture, of course, on my phone, and I look at it sometimes and I remember the feelings of that day. And it was just really nice.
Yeah, I can only imagine it kind of from what I'm hearing and the feeling that I'm getting, it's kind of like the end of a movie. No, knowing it's not the end, there's still many more chapters to go, but just that moment of joy and I guess feeling more at home with the job that you've done your whole life. So I can only imagine that feeling.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it because yeah, it was an end and a beginning, and it was that end, that culmination of all of my struggles and searching for for what kind of a career I'm going to have and going forward, and then to be able to do the job and show up because it's a lot. It's not as much as say for the broadcasters who have to travel with the team and they're and they even those guys don't work every game. um, I just work the games at Dodger Stadium and whatever other events that they have me doing. So the schedule is very predictable, but it's also a grind. We just finished a 10 game homestand. It was 10 straight games and 10 straight days, and Pride Night, Father's Day, Shohei Ohtani giveaways, Shohei Ohtani's first and second mound appearance in a Dodger uniform. So there was just a lot going on, and of course the Giants and the Padres were both in town, so we had our rivalry
Yeah,
games.
it was a jam-packed 10 days with
It
all the
sure was.
stress and every emotion. And how, speaking of Otani, how is that announcing and being present during him pitching and hitting and then getting that home run that one game?
It's amazing to see him do what he does is so rare, and I mean he truly is a unicorn in baseball. Um, it's I've gotten so used to seeing him over the past year or so, with his helmet on and swinging the bat and doing all the amazing things he does as an offensive player. But then you see him stand on the mound and act all pitchery. You know what I mean? He's futzing around with his cleats and he's checking the grip on the ball and he's grabbing the rosin bag and doing all those things the pitchers do. And you think that's so Shohei Ohtani right there.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna
He has a whole other side.
yes, and then he's gonna come off the mound and get into the plate and hit a home run or something. And it's just amazing. So I think I posted a reel on Instagram of me announcing him in the starting lineup, saying uh, you know pitching and the designated hitter and pitching number 17 Shohei Ohtani. It's just like
Like,
it's
when are
just
you going to say that again?
yeah, you
Especially
rarely.
that moment, that day, the pinnacle of his career with the Dodgers.
Yeah, and that's going to be every week or so for the foreseeable future. So I hope he stays healthy. I hope he continues to feel good. He's a very durable player. So I have every confidence that he's just going to pitch more and more innings as the year goes on, and hopefully he'll be ready to pitch us deep into October again. So
That would
uh,
be a sight
yeah.
and a sound to hear you. Um, so what does give the listeners a typical day? Like, how do you prepare? How do you get ready? Do you do voice exercises or what goes on in your day?
Well, I usually show up at the ballpark in the mid afternoon sometime to miss the traffic. And even though I don't have to be there as early as I sometimes get there, I just like to go there and be able to get in my spot watch the guys work out, see who's doing what, do any other types of preparation I need, filling out my scorebook. I keep score for every game in an official scorebook. And that really helps me keep track of what's going on in the game, who's in, who's out, who's coming in to pitch, who's available to pitch, all that stuff. And I have to remind myself sometimes I'm not the official scorer. I don't have to be, I don't have to be anal about the scoring, but I just have to make sure that I know that Kike's coming into left field in place of Michael Conforto. He's going to pinch hit for him, and then he's going to go out into the field to replace him out there. So that helps me a lot. So I fill out my scorebook, and I have speaking of anal, I have kind of a way that I fill out my scorebook every day, and it involves silly stuff like drawing the logo of the team that the Dodgers are playing. So both teams, I just and
A little superstitious stuff going on.
it is. It is. I'm like, I have to do this before the game. I just, as if whatever I do matters one little iota,
Hey, everything matters.
but it works for me. So I do that every time. So I definitely have my preparation that I do. But before I come to the ballpark, I work out of my house. I have a voiceover business, and I have a recording studio in the room I'm sitting in, and a vocal booth for sound isolation, so I don't hear the planes going overhead or the gardeners working outside or anything like that. And so I make sure I do all my auditions and whatever jobs that I got to do, and walk my dog in the morning. And so I'm it's kind of a nice schedule because during the homestands I get my work done, make sure to take care of my dog, and have lunch with my wife, or breakfast with my wife, or at least coffee with my wife, and then head off to the ballpark. And I don't get home till, I don't know, usually 11:30 or something at night, and then just get up and do it again. So sometimes I feel like I'm semi-retired in the sense that there's days like today where I'm joining you on a podcast, but I don't have all that much. So I say, you know what, you're away from the ballpark. You can do your laundry or something today. It's almost like a day off in a way.
I love that. And then do you drink, are you like a Mariah Carey where you have your warm tea, honey? Like, what do you do to keep your voice so smooth? Because it is
Well,
very buttery.
I like to drink a lot of whiskey. No, I at the ball game, I always have a little receptacle full of ice water. And ice water is probably not a really great thing for your voice, but I find it refreshing, and I just take sips of it throughout the game. I try not to drink too much because I can't leave during the game to take a bathroom break. So I have to make sure that I don't drink too much liquid, but just enough to wet my whistle, so to speak. And then as far as my vocal health goes, I'm blessed with the fact that if I do get sick, I rarely, if ever, lose my voice. I'm gonna knock on wood right there. Um, so that's not usually a problem. I know people who every time they get sick, they lose their voice, but for some reason, my voice just seems to get stronger with use. So as a singer, which I also enjoy immensely. I find that once I get warmed up, my voice gets stronger and better as the night goes on, instead of getting hoarse. And part of that is your technique, that you're not straining your voice when you're singing, or using your voice in a way that's going to tire out your vocal cords. So that might be just some of my training and some of my background and some of my vocal skills. And some of it's just flat out genetics or luck or whatever it is. But I often will sing throughout the day, and that's just a way that I just keeps I'm humming, or I'm singing some silly song that comes into my mind, or I make up some silly song for my dog to just serenade him for a little while. But all those things kind of keep my voice in good shape. And so, toward the end of a homestand, when you've got 54,000 people screaming and you have to be heard over them, you can get tired out a little bit, but I have to make sure, just like anybody else, stay hydrated, get good night's sleep, try to stay healthy and so forth, and that helps because your voice is a very physical thing, and so anything that's going on with your body could show up in your voice, and so you have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. And is there a pressure sometimes, maybe during a certain play or a game, where you just feel, I guess, the pressure when announcing at all? Or is it just you just go through it, through the highs and lows? Like, how does that feel? Because you're with all of those fans, and some fans, especially Dodger fans, can give some very harsh pressure or have some words, for fans or anything.
Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like I don't have any kind of pressure like the guys on the field do because
Uh-uh.
they've got to perform, they've got to play. Um, the only time I really feel, maybe nervous or I want to be careful with what I'm doing is during pregame ceremonies, which a lot of people don't see because they're not at the ballpark yet. Yet we're doing all kinds of pregame ceremonies, recognizing law enforcement, recognizing firefighters, recognizing different people from the community who are, what we call our health heroes, or a kid who's made did a make a wish type of thing, and so I make sure that I'm really ready for that stuff, and that because I know that stuff is like a once in a lifetime moment for some of these people who are down on the field. Maybe they're throwing out a ceremonial first pitch, and I want to make sure one that I pronounce their name right, because we have so many different ways that you can pronounce all kinds of names.
Like yours,
And
that's why I wanted to ask yours. Like, how do I pronounce it?
yeah, like mine. I mean, I think I was at an event, and one of our in stadium hosts who knows me pretty well introduced me at this game in Pasadena that it was a girls softball showcase game, and she said Todd Leitz, and at the end I said, how could you do me like that? How could you mispronounce my name? She goes, I didn't know, and it's funny. So that those are the only times I really feel like I have to be careful, and I'm mindful that But when the game is going, I just try to feel the emotions of the game, and I try to get as big as the moment, and even when the guys aren't playing well, but it's still the bottom of the ninth, and there's a chance we could come back. We got to make sure that we're there with the same energy that we were at the beginning of the game, because we don't want them to feel like we've checked out on them, that we're still up there, still supporting them, still giving them that energy, so that hopefully that translates to their performance down on the
And I
field.
think that's like a vital part because I've been at games and I'm trying to cheer on loud so that way the surrounding people can, and they usually do, or someone else will cheer and then I'll join them because I really do feel like the players feed off of that. And there's times where we're watching a game, I'm like, why aren't the fans pumping them up? Why aren't they chanting their name? Because I really feel sometimes they get in a slump. And sometimes it's mentally, you could see that they're in this mental rut and you need that support. And that's the time to give them the support. So I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes you kind of have a little bit of that pressure on you.
Yeah, and our Dodger Vision crew, everything you see up on the Dodger Vision screens comes from Dodger Vision, and we, all the prompts and all the music and stuff comes through that, and so we have prompts, asking people to get loud. Different celebrity prompts are saying, "I can't hear you, Dodger fans. I can't hear you," um, and so we're doing that throughout the game. If our producer Jessica Ray, who's our great game day producer, she's our show caller, if she feels like things are dragging a little bit, she'll push that out to the fans, and or else Dieter Rule, our great organist, will do a dun 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 or whatever he does, or make it clap, that kind of thing, and that just keeps people engaged. And I never exhort the fans to do anything, except for I just try to give the energy when I'm announcing the players or whatever I'm saying. And I know that people appreciate that. I don't know how the players feel about it so much, but I do know they pay attention to our show quite. Like I know that sometimes the players will call up and say, "Hey, how come that guy's song didn't get played?" or something like that. So they're paying
Right.
attention.
I love that.
Yeah, and whether or not they care how I say anything or what I say, I don't care. I say,
Is
well,
this song very important to them?
I think their walk up songs are really important to them. And some guys change all the time.
Muncie.
Muncie's actually been pretty steady with his
Oh,
songs
really?
this year. He's got
Okay.
this country song. Somebody say a prayer for me.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't know the song, but I know it now. I mean, and some guys keep their song just the same all the time. But guys like Miggy Rojas, he's got 3 or 4 songs running at any one time so the DJ will look over to me and say, who's leading off? And I'll say it's Muncie, or I'll say it's Miggy, number 3. So he'll have to know that, oh, in Miggy's third at bat, he wants this song, but his first at bat, he had that
Oh,
song.
wow. So
Second
they're
at that,
very detailed.
yeah. So they're very detailed about it. The guys who really care,
Yeah.
and the pitchers, it's important to the pitchers when they come out and fans may have your attention, please. Now pitching for the Dodgers, Michael Kopech, and he's got that great song
Hmm.
that he has played, and I know it's important to him. I know that helps him get fired up. That helps him get in the zone, so to speak. So, um,
And
you
Vestia
know,
too. Vestia comes out pumped up.
yeah, oh yeah, his song gets everybody going. But I have to say, I like Kopech's the best. So next time Kopech comes out to pitch and you're at the stadium, pay attention to that one because it's. I think it's a really cool one. There's this sense of foreboding and mystery about it. It's really cool. So the music really can set the tone in such a cool way.
I agree. I mean, even for working out, I have my own playlist because I want to keep my head and mind focused and dialed in for that 1 hour. So I get it, at least for on my my little end, just for working out, let alone being on the field. So for someone who's dreaming to be in your shoes for any team, what's your words to them?
Well, I would say, as with anything, I think is do the work. You can say I want to be a PA announcer, so go be a PA announcer somewhere, your local high school. For a little league game, ask your local little league, whatever level you're at or you need to start doing the job to see if you've got the chops to do it. And and then you can work on your own style. And you know, I remember when I first got the job with the Dodgers, I was like, okay, well, I want to be myself, but I don't want to be so different from the guy that did it before me that they're like, oh, who the heck is that? So I kind of, was pretty straightforward at first, and then as time got went on, and I was a little more comfortable, I developed some of my own things. And one of the things, and the things that I can do that nobody else can do, because nobody can be you, Priscilla. Nobody can be Priscilla Diaz. Only you. That's the thing you bring to the table that nobody else brings. And Vin Scully said that. And I really took that to heart. It's like, if you're being yourself, you're bringing something that no one else can do. And so it's nice to model yourself after certain people that you admire, styles that you like, or avoid things that you don't think sound great or whatever. But be yourself and then incorporate some of those inspirations into your work. But you got to do the work. You can't say, oh, I'm a singer, or I want to be a singer, but you're not singing. You have to do it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And then, when that opportunity comes, you're going to be ready, and you have to be ready for your opportunity. And I felt like I was ready when I had a chance. I got this one little chance from the Dodgers to show them what I could do at Dodger Stadium, and I was ready, and I knew I was ready. So I went in there with a confidence, and a guy I work very closely with now, our audio engineer Patrick Sweeney, who's been with the Dodgers since 2002, I think. Um, he said, Todd, I knew right away that you were the only guy that could do this job and deal with all of the stuff that comes at you with people standing behind you or distractions and noise and all this stuff. He says, I knew you were the only guy that could do it. And I had known him because I'd sung the anthem there like a dozen times. And I just knew him because he would get me ready to sing the anthem and work on the rehearsal with Nancy B and so forth. Um, so I kind of felt like I had a little in there in a way, although he wasn't a decision maker. But now we work together, and we've been working together for 11 years. So um, just you got to be ready. You got to be prepared. You got to be yourself, and the rest will fall into place.
And what do you say? Because you mentioned earlier that you started this later on in your life, which is, like you said, there's no age to anything. What do you say to even people my age? I'm going to be 45 in a couple of weeks. So, what do you say? And this is I did PR and communication, marketing communications for 20 years. And I've always loved storytelling, which is why I'm doing podcasting. But what do you say to people my age and older of it's never too late to pursuing dreams and ambitions?
Oh yeah, I mean, you have to, or you have to keep on pursuing your dreams because that means you're living. That means you're still, you're still that idealistic 17-year-old in your heart, and so um, never give up on your dreams and just keep on moving. That you might end up in a different on a different path than you were when you started, but you're going to be closer to that dream, and you might find that the dream that you were dreaming about wasn't really the dream that you wanted. It's just something you thought you wanted, and after taking the steps and doing the work and finding your way, you're like, oh, this is more what I really wanted to do. um, I don't think it's ever too late for anybody. I mean, I understand that we all have obligations. We all have financial obligations. We all have people that either we're taking care of or whatever it is. That's real stuff. And I wrestled with that when I left radio and had to find a way to continue to make. I was about your age when I got laid off from my radio gig, and so I kind of felt like, well, what's another dream? What's something else I can go to? Well, the first step is to go to back to school and become an EMT, and that was the hardest job I ever got. I swear to God, being an emergency medical technician with all of the regulations and the paperwork and the tests that you have to go through in order to get your certification from the state and from the county and from the city. It was just, I couldn't believe how hard it was to get a $15 an hour job.
Wow.
Dealing with, car accident victims and people who were sick and needed to be,
Stressful.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is what they pay the people that do this important work. Um, so anyway, you just gotta keep going and like what you've found is that you've got a certain set of skills and certain set of things that you like to do and storytelling and stuff. So you find something that's gonna allow you to do all that stuff. And a podcast is a really great way to do it. I did a podcast for a season called Dodgers Homestand, and I had a ball doing it because I would interview people before the game, and maybe it's the head groundskeeper at Dodger Stadium, or it's the head chef or somebody. And then after the game, I'd sit down and I would say, hey, here's what we did in pregame, and here's what happened during the game, notable things that happened during the game, and here's my conversation with the head groundskeeper. And it was really fun to do, and I did 45 episodes over the course of the season. But it was also exhausting, and it really didn't monetize as much as I would have wanted it to. But I still loved doing it, and I kind of miss doing it. And people are still downloading it today. It lives on Buzzsprout or something,
Oh, okay.
that platform. Sorry to give another platform,
No, it's
but
okay.
anyway, I knew that would be something fun as a former radio guy, that I could do, and who knows, maybe I'll do one in the future again. But I'm sure happy to be on your podcast today.
Well, I'm happy you're on here. So, if you could relive one memory, memorable or just flat out funny, of your time with the Dodgers and doing what you love, what would that be?
Oh, if I could relive it?
Relive it, or maybe it's just a moment that occasionally just pops up in your head and brings a smile to your face or makes you laugh.
Hmm. Well, I mean, there's been so many great
So
memories that
much.
have to do with baseball, but I think that looking back, you asked me about my first day leaving, but my first day arriving at Dodger Stadium and walking in the press box for the first time as Dodger PA announcer, the first person I ran into was Vin Scully.
Mm.
Just almost walked right into him as I walked through the door. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Scully, how you doing? I'm Todd." And he says, "I know who you are. You're Todd, the new PA announcer. Good to meet you and welcome to Dodger Stadium." And I'm
Wow.
like, um, "Thanks, Mr. Scully. If there's any feedback you could give me." "Ah, nonsense. You're going to be great." And he kept walking. So within two sentences, three sentences, he made me feel acknowledged, recognized, welcomed, and like, you got this. And it was just such an amazing thing that he did for me in so few words. Shook my hand, acknowledged me, gave me an attaboy, um, and then walked away. And it was like, I was like, oh my God, this is
This
this
is
is just
life. This is your life.
this is amazing, because I was, when you ask me who's my favorite Dodger, well, the players come and go, and I love the players. I think what they do is just amazing. But Vin Scully was there for 67 seasons, and so he's my favorite Dodger by far.
Yeah.
And I do have a signed ball from Vin Scully,
Mm.
and I kind of breached some etiquette by asking him for it. And my boss told me, "You shouldn't be asking for autographs up here." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So, but then Vin got me the autograph
Mm.
anyway, and I treasure it. So,
That
um,
was definitely one rule to break, so to say.
yes, yes. And I kind of played ignorant, like, "Oh, I didn't realize we weren't supposed to do that." And I kind of didn't, but I do now. So, and now sometimes people ask me for my autograph, and I'm like, "Why do you want my autograph?" And they're like, "Oh, I want, because I've been listening to you all my life." And I realize that there are kids out there that have been listening to me for a long time, and I never realized it. But there are people that follow PA announcers. They like to live to PA announce. They know who they are. And I have a few people that reach out to me to ask my advice on things, just to check in. So I have people that I mentor, and I figure anybody that takes the time to write me a letter or to reach out to me for advice or just to say hi, then I'm going to do my best to acknowledge that in the spirit of Vin Scully, who was just the most beautiful man to every person that he ran into. And I can't be Vin Scully, but I can try to emulate that wonderful aspect of his personality, which was he always had time for people, and it
That's
was
what I've heard. I,
yeah,
I just had Felipe Ruiz on. He was the right hand man of Tommy, and he said nothing but amazing things about Vinny and Alana too. Alana shared nothing but wonderful things of Vin Scully. So it's really a testament when you hear other people just speak so lovingly and beautiful of someone. It just shows more and more of who that person was.
yeah.
So
I always think of the people. It's how you act toward people that you don't have to be nice to, that you don't necessarily have to be nice to. Those are the people that you should really be nice to, I think. And so I try to take that, and that was something that I think that Vin did. And I noticed that guys like Rick Monday, who's been with the Dodgers for decades, he's that kind of a guy. Um, Steven Nelson, Joe Davis, Pepe Iniguez, the Spanish language team, and Luis Conchito Cruz is the new kind of analyst for all really really nice people. And I find that good people somehow get into these positions, and there's it's no accident that a good person got to that place, because and I'm sure there's people that get to positions and they're not very nice people, and I suppose that's, but I find
I
that
don't think they
with,
last long though.
yeah, maybe not, and maybe that's a little bit of karma, but I
Yeah.
find that with the Dodgers, most of the people that work there are good people, and I really like that, and I feel really proud to be a part of that.
Well, we're proud to have you because your voice is ever present, and it's just a part of the DNA of the Dodgers, in my opinion. And I know many more will agree with that. So, in closing, um, what what message do you want to give to listeners about you and yourself?
Well, just that I'm just a regular guy that does the stuff that guys do. But I'm very proud to have been married for almost 40 years to my beautiful wife Tina. I'm very proud of my two adult daughters, one of whom was married a couple years ago and gave us a beautiful grandson,
Oh,
who's not quite a year old
congratulations.
yet. That's a real blessing and a joy. My other daughter's getting married in September. I can't wait to walk
Wow.
her down the aisle. So we're planning a beautiful wedding up at a ranch in near Solvang. Um, and I kind of feel like all of you are a amalgamation of all of your decisions in life. And when I first met my wife, I often say, best decision I ever made to choose the right person, who was the right person to build a family with and grow old with. I'm so lucky to have somebody like her in my life, and just if you continue to do what you think is right and follow your instincts on what the right thing to do, because it's never the wrong thing to do the right thing. It's never, it's always going to be the right thing to do the right thing. And that, I know that changes for different people's perspectives and stuff, but if you kind of follow your gut, at the end of the day, you're going to make the decisions that are going to put you in a place later in your life where you can look back and say, I did good. And I think that's all any that's the only thing any of us really want, is to feel proud of what we've accomplished and proud of what we've done and what we became. And then to watch our children become wonderful people too is another feeling of success. And everybody defines it differently, but um, I feel success is to know that you have good people in your life, and that you've raised good humans to go on into the next generation. So I'm so proud of my daughters and the women they've become. And so those, I think, I said on Father's Day that they were my greatest achievement.
Mm, I
But
love that. I have a daughter, and she'll be 23 this year, and she's working for the Padres, and she's a Padre fan, and following her dreams and ambitions and figuring out what that is there. But it's so neat being a parent of in this stage in her age right now, and just seeing her take off and figure it out, and, and see, kind of like a butterfly, just seeing what comes out of this. So, but as a parent, I completely agree. Our children are our greatest blessings and success, and and I agree. Like she's a good kid, or good young lady, good young woman.
she'll
um,
always be your kid. She'll always be a
yes.
kid to you.
I always say my kid, and then people are thinking, a lot younger. Um, but I completely agree with that sentiment. And congratulations on your family growing and growing again this September. Um, I'm sure she's so happy to get married, and your wife too, celebrating that love. Um, But I just thank you so much for sharing your life and your journey. And I can't wait to hear you again at the games. And is there, do you want to do like a little like Dodger announcement for the ending?
Sure. What do you want to hear?
You go for it. You have the reins.
Well, the one that really people love is Shohei Ohtani. So
Okay.
I have a way of announcing his names, and I talked to the Japanese media, and there's a lot of Japanese media now following
Mhm.
Shohei around. So they're always at the ballpark, and I've made friends with several of them. They're just, really great people. And we have so many Japanese fans now who follow Shohei and Yoshi and Roki Sasaki. So anyway, I said, I think that everybody's been kind of saying Shohei Otani's name incorrectly over these years by saying Shohei Otani, and so I said, shouldn't it be Shohei Otani? Because Japanese pronunciation is very flat. Otani, like Osaka, Japan. It's not
Oh,
Osaka, it's Osaka, Japan. And yes, that's correct. So I started doing it in my own way. You got to be yourself. So I said, leading off the Dodger half of the first inning, designated hitter and pitcher, number 17, Shohei Otani. And so I started saying it like that. And even one time I introduced him in Japanese on Japanese Heritage Night. And I had one of the Japanese reporters, my friend Mika, said she translated what I would make that announcement into Japanese, and I was able to deliver it without screwing it up too much. And the Japanese reporters all turned their heads and they were looking and they were very excited to hear, instead of Shohei Otani, it was Otani Shohei, because that's how they say it in Japan.
wow.
So,
They were impressed and
yes.
loved.
So I have a lot of fun with, making sure I pronounce the names as they are intended to be pronounced, like Teoscar Hernandez. Everybody calls him Teoscar Hernandez, but that's just anglicized. But I figure I'm an announcer. I can say it however I can say it. I might not say that in conversation, but as an announcer, it's Teoscar Hernandez. And you got to
I
really punch
love that. This is such a treat for me right now.
it.
I love that. Okay, so fans, listeners, you heard him and you now pay more attention to his enunciation to get more of that respect that you give to the players and their native tongue, I guess you could say. Um,
Yeah, I often ask them, what does your mama call you? Say, well, how does your mama say your name? Oh, well, she says Teoscar. And I'm like, okay, well, that's what it is then.
oh, I love that. I love that so much. Well, we ended this with such a highlight, such a treat. Um, Thank you so much, Todd, for spending part of your day with us. And again, it was such a treat. And best of this whole season and your future with the Dodgers.
Thank you so much. I hope to be in the PA booth for many years to come. So
Yes.
we'll see you at Dodger Stadium.